We having some technical difficulties this morning. Uh, Not sure what's going on. Just give me 1 second. It's gonna find me. All right, here we go. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm not sure what was happening there. I pray that all you guys have had a great week so far. Great weekend as well. It's been a great year. Good morning, Drika. Thanks for connecting this morning. It's been a great year. Different, but great. The countdown to Christmas. It's a couple days away, a few days away. Gabby, what's happening? Beautiful. I love you, baby. But yeah, it's been amazing. It's been a journey, an adventurous one, to say the least. Thank you guys so much for connecting this morning. We're going to give a few more people time to connect with us, and we will be logging on here shortly. Or should I say getting started? Tay, what's happening? Thanks for connecting this morning. Drake Dunn, Britt Dunn, what's happening? Thank you guys for tapping in this morning. Felicia, good morning, fam. What's happening with you? What's happening, G? Mr. Robinson, what's happening, family? Y'all still sip on coffee while we have these conversations? Or y'all sipping tea, hot chocolate? Cam, what's happening, my man? Mr. Robinson say yes, sir. Facts. Got you. I'm gonna give it about right at another minute or so, and then Gabby, you must just got off. Good morning, Britt. She's sipping liquid melatonin. Good morning, Anita. We hope you with us by the end of the session, Gabby. chat. Y'all finished Christmas shopping yet? Good morning, Miss Lee. Dr. Lee, that is. Yes, ma'am. All right, you guys, I think we're just about ready to get started. Y'all ready to go in? All right, so just a couple days away from Christmas. I pray that all you guys have been enjoying this holiday season with your family and loved ones, and just making great memories. Miss Hoy, good morning to you. Making great memories. You know, these times they come and go really fast, and before you know it, a decade or so has gone by, and you're like, where did the time go? So make sure that you're seizing the moments, utilizing your technical devices to capture moments and videos and all this stuff that we do now. Also, be careful, those of you who are going to be out and about over these next couple of days trying to pick up last minute gifts and whatever it is that you're having to do. Those who are traveling, we are praying for God's covering over you during your travel so that you will be safe and arrive to your destination and return to your place of dwelling safely. Want to make sure that we cover all of those who are probably experiencing their first of these kinds of holidays, having lost loved ones throughout the year. Many will be experiencing their first Christmas without someone that is near and dear to their heart. So we want to remember to pray for those people as well. Create the balance. Make sure you call and check on them, send text messages, or pick up the phone and send a voice memo. Sometimes it's just great hearing the voice. So you can figure that out on your phone, how to send a voice memo. Let them hear your voice. Let them know you're thinking about them, you love them, and that you're praying for them. Don't make it sad, though, because you don't want to trigger them. They might be all right and get your voice message and start crying. So let's just be careful with that. But let's make sure those people that we know that have lost someone throughout this year and they may be experiencing their first Christmas, their first holiday season without their loved one, let's make sure that we flood them with showing love and consideration for them. And so they'll know that we're thinking about them, because sometimes it could feel, it feels kind of different because you're experiencing what you are and you're looking at the people around you and you're like, well, life just goes on. Which it does, but you know we can do what we can do to help everybody not to experience that. So this morning, I want to take a look at something really quick. I want to share something with you from the book of Galatians, chapter 6. The Bible said, let me see where I want to start. We'll start at verse number 7, because we all know this passage. It says, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Verse number 8, he that soweth to his flesh shall reap of his flesh corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall reap of the Spirit life everlasting. Verse number 9 then says, and let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. All right, so we're going to talk about this because this passage of scripture is, I think, the biblical premise to support the law of cause and effect. You get that? The law of cause and effect. We all know what cause and effect is. It's whenever there's an action or an event that happens that results in a consequence and or result, right? So in life, there are things that happen even whenever we consider the creation of everything. You have the Big Bang Theory, and they're talking about, it's supported, let me say this, it's supported on the premise of cause and effect. And some creationists argue that the cause has to be greater than the effect in order to cause the effect, right? And so, you know, while there's truth to both sides of it, I personally, I'm a creationist. I believe that God created everything. I believe that He is the cause. And I also believe that He's greater than the effect of His cause being present and interacting with everything that is and that has been created. But I want to bring this a little bit personable, a little bit more personal, should I've said, to you in your day to day life. And in this passage, we're talking about sowing and reaping, which is a law of the universe. Be not deceived, God's not mocked whatsoever. Man, soweth that shall he also reap. Most time we talk about that, we only think about money or giving offerings in church, right? Good morning, Linda Lewis. But this is not one of those Sunday morning give money in church. This is way much deeper than that because this, again, this is a law of the universe, irrevocable law of the universe, which means that everything in this universe consists of this principle. You can find this principle in every single thing. And again, for those who are just really seasoned in church, that will be sowing and reaping. Those of you who are a little bit more progressive in your thinking, that has a type of what do I want to say, quantum faith, if you will. This you would identify this as the law of cause and effect, or the theory of cause and effect. And so this morning, what I want to do is I want to draw your attention to something a little bit deeper in this same subject matter, because when we consider cause and effect, most of the time, we assume, according to the theory of cause and effect, that something happens and then there's an outcome only. But we never consider what happens prior to something happening, right? What happens prior to the cause. And so we have to, I want to take you back to what happens prior to the cause. And this is going to help you. I think it's going to be very instrumental with you moving forward into a new year, with new opportunities before you. I really want to take a look at this. And so we find that in the scripture today, Galatians chapter 6, verse number 8, it's talking about prior to the cause. He says, for he that soweth, or be not deceived, whatsoever a man soweth. And so this kind of changes it. It redefines, or it gives us more clarity of what's actually happened in the principle or the theory of cause and effect. And so this, we move from just cause and effect to causing the effect. And so you're causing the effect by your action. It's not some random action. It's a very intentional action. Whenever you're causing the effect, you have intended or deliberately made the move that you've made, in order to get the result or the outcome of the thing that you're desiring. So when we move into this upcoming year and whatever seasons this new year may hold for us, remember today that you have an opportunity to cause the effect that you have or that you will have on your next year or your next season or what have you. What it is that you're doing today is actually influencing and impacting the result, okay? The outcome, the consequence, or the reward. What you're doing, what you do today can impact or influence that. And so this is why we have to be a little bit more deliberate in what it is that we're doing to cause whatever it is that we desire to affect our lives. If you want a certain effect upon your life, if you want your life to be, if you want peace, right? You have to be intentional as it relates to causing your life, the landscape of your life, to be affected by peace. And by that, there are certain things that you would do. Follow peace with all men. Stop having beefs and getting into it with people. Learn how to walk away from an argument, not because, or a disagreement, not because you lost, just because That's not what you're trying to entertain in your life. You know what I'm saying? Don't as long as you interact with things, you give life to it. And so if you want certain things to die in your life, you have to stop interacting with it, because the life of anything that you're dealing with right now, the life of it is sustained by the life from you. So if you give no life to it, then it has no life. It has no effect on you. It has no existence. Have you ever had a situation where you may have been at odds or disagreement with someone and then you totally walked away from it? And so it's not a big deal to you, but it's still a big deal to them. That's because you stopped giving life to it. And so on your end, it died and you're not tripping anymore. But on their end, it's still very much so an issue because they're still continuing to feed it life. And so from their experience point of view, they still are being impacted or having the effect of the initial fallout, whatever that may have been, because they're still sowing into that. They're still causing that effect. They're doing things to cause that effect by holding grudges, having a personal issue with it, still entertaining it in conversation in so many other areas. And so this is how they themselves are guilty of causing the effect, but they want you to change the effect. Well, that is impossible. The only thing that could change the effect, the outcome and or result, is the cause. That's the only thing. So whenever you determine what effect you want up on your life, then you become intentional on causing it. As it relates to your financial forecast for the next year, what are you doing to cause that effect? What are you doing to cause that effect? What are you planning for? What are you preparing for? What are you expecting? What is it that you desire? What do you see? What do you envision? Whenever you have these things in place, then you become very instrumental in causing that effect. Now, I know that most of the time when we hear stuff like this, it's encouraging and inspirational, and you say, well, that's cool, Pastor, but I've heard this before. And I get it. I get it, but I'm over it because I've been trying to cause the effect, and my cause ain't causing, or my effect is not affecting the way that it should. So here's the second part of this, which is the most important part. In verse number 9, it says, "And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." In other words, after you have deliberately and intentionally initiated the cause, you have to have patience to wait for the effect, because your patience is what allows the desired effect upon your life to be maximized. If you rush the effect, you may not feel the fullness of it, right? If you rush the effect, you may not feel the fullness of it. Okay, so I do some trading. And so while I'm doing trading, I have several people that I trade with, but this particular group, the last couple of weeks, we've made investments, and we're just in some trades. I'll say it that way. And so for the last couple of weeks, we've been watching it because we've done what we needed to do to cause it. But now watch, this is where we're getting this is where we're stumbling at, because we are flirting with becoming weary in well doing. So we may, no, we won't, but that flirting with becoming weary, being anxious with becoming weary, can cause us to miss reaping the effect that we ourselves have intentionally and deliberately caused, right? Because when this happens, that's the result of something else. And I'm going to tell you what that is in just a minute. But we have already deliberately and intentionally initiated a cause. and we have an effect that we're expecting, but we have become anxious in waiting for the effect. And if we allow anxiousness to overtake us, we will miss the effect of the cause, right? And so the reason why we develop this habit, I believe, of anxiousness is because traditionally, spiritually, in the African American church, we're taught how to war and fight for everything. Everything that we receive of the Lord, we believe you got to fight for it. You got to go into spiritual war for it. You got to battle for it. And, you know, we have this concept of toiling. We have this concept of conflict when it comes to receiving spiritual things. And we have this concept as though we have to fight for the promises of God. And we have to fight to receive the promises of God. Where did that come from? Where did we adopt this? How did we all collectively agree that, you know, something has to be fought, a battle has to be fought in order for you to receive something that has been promised to you, something that is yours, right? It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't have any identification, any residence in the scripture or the promises of God. When you make a promise to someone you love, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a family member, or one of your children or a sibling, you don't make a promise and say, okay, and so now you got to fight 12 rounds to receive that. And we adopt this mentality by hearing things like, you know, the enemy fighting you, God must be getting ready to bless you. So inadvertently, we begin to think that in order for us to receive the blessing, we got to fight, because we say exactly, Chandrika, slavery. We say within ourselves, I got to fight for this. I got to fight for that. Or I know something is coming out of this fight. I've been going through, so I know something is coming. That right there has no truth to it. And moving forward in understanding universal principles, irrevocable laws of the universe, you understand that the law of sowing and reaping and the theory of cause and effect both simultaneously coexist and operate together. Some things, I'm going to say this to you, and I want you to get this, some things that you think that you have to war for, you don't have to war for, you only have to wait for. Okay? I'm going to say it one more time. Some things that you believe that you have to war for, you don't have to war for them, you only have to wait for them. Because you are allowing the principle, the principle of the law to fulfill itself. Every time you have a law present, it has to be fulfilled. If you remember in the Old Testament, whenever the scripture says that the Lord gave, or God gave Moses the commandments, he gave them the law, and they tried to fulfill the law. And from the Old Testament up until the gospel, the law is out there unfulfilled. So there is the sowing of the law, but it wasn't fulfilled until Christ came. And so there was a wait. And throughout that wait, we see the people of God going to war many times, but really they were not warring for what they thought they were warring for. They were warring because they thought, or they misunderstood who it was that they called God, and thought that they had to fight for his love and to fight for his favor and to fight for good standing in all the wars that were fought from the beginning of the Old Testament throughout the entire Old Testament. None of those battles fulfilled the law. It was not until Christ came. So Christ fulfilled the law. So really the only thing they had to do was wait for the fulfillment after they initiated the cause, and that is loving God with all their heart, mind, body, and soul. That's it. That's it. That's what we have to do. We have to be able to wait for the effect that we desire. We don't have to war for it. And so whenever you go into whenever you go into this next year, while it is that you are causing initiating the cause of the next effect. If you get bored or anxious throughout the waiting, I'm going to tell you what I've decided to do. I decided that I will begin to initiate other causes. Listen to me. I will begin to initiate other causes for other effects. We get so one dimensional until we just do one thing, and we get anxious waiting for that one thing to come. And the reason why we're so anxious is because we are just not seeing anything beyond that thing. So let's initiate the cause, and while we're waiting for the effect, initiate the next cause, or another cause, should I say. Initiate another cause so that that effect can be loading in your life. And once the effects starts to manifest themselves, there will be no cease to that. The Bible says that God will not be mocked concerning this. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Whatever you initiate, whatever you initiate, the outcome or the results is guaranteed, because that is the principle of God. That's the irrevocable law of all of creation. It's cause and effect. It's sowing and reaping. The book of Genesis says, I believe it's chapter 8, while the earth remains, there will always be seed, time, waiting, causing seed, time, waiting, and harvest, effect. There will always be seed, time, and harvest. There will always be the cause, the wait, the result. The cause, the wait, the result. Everything happens that way. Everything happens that way. And so you want to make sure that you have this at the front of your mind moving into this upcoming year, so that you will not become so disgruntled and disappointed. Because I will say this, God will never disappoint. I'm going to say that again because I know that's a hard one to swallow. God will never disappoint. Now watch this. You may become disappointed, but it's not because God has appointed you to that. God will always appoint to you and for you the pleasure of his good will for you. He will always appoint you to that. He will always appoint you to the things that are abundant, the things that are true, the things that are pure, the things that are love. That's what God is appointing you. So if you become disappointed by something else, you have to understand that that's not necessarily God that's appointed you to disappointment. That's not what he does. That's not what he does. And so we have to make sure that we are intentional and sober in our planning and in our progression in life. We are intentional to conduct ourselves, behave, move in such ways to initiate the cause of the thing that we desire to affect our life. This is why we cannot be so sidetracked. We cannot be so sidetracked in the wait until we try to reinvent the cause. That's why it says, be not weary in well doing. When you know that you're doing well or have done well to a thing, don't be discouraged. Don't get tired, because you know that doing well concerning whatever the cause is that you're deliberately initiating, you know what the outcome of that or the effect of that cause is. So don't get tired of doing what it is that you're supposed to do and that you know to do in order to experience the result and or effect that you desire. We have to be intentional. We have to be intentional on that. We cannot be distracted by the wait. there's something that I think is an enemy to us all, and that is just the environment of waiting. Because when you're in a waiting room, so to speak, boredom boredom strikes so hard in the waiting room. You'll scroll through your phone for a while. You may pick up a magazine and begin to read something you have absolutely no interest in. You may return phone calls or whatever, but you begin to become fidgety. And that's how we are in life. While we're waiting, we become fidgety, and most of the time we indulge and engage things that we ought not, and those things later serve as a distraction once the effect is fully come. Or you have ran up a bill in the waiting room. When I say ran up a bill, you've done things or you've initiated other causes that will affect the effect that you've been waiting on. If you what you do today will affect how your tomorrow unfolds. If you prepare for your upcoming week, if you prepare for it today, you will be able to move into your upcoming week without panic, rush, or hysteria. You'll be able to just move into it smoothly. But if you're not intentionally causing or initiating a cause for a smooth transition into this next week, you can't expect it to be smooth. It's going to be whatever it is that you are initiating. And this, my friends, this is the same thing that you're going to get whenever you read the book The Secret. This is the same thing you're going to get whenever you read The Law of Attraction. This is the same thing you're going to get when you read The Theory of Cause and Effect. This is the same thing you're going to read or get when you read Galatians chapter 6. This is the same thing you're going to get when you read Genesis 8. This is the same thing you're going to get when you read Genesis 3. Everything is going that is initiated will be the cause that will yield the effect that you desire. And what God is saying to us this morning is be intentional about the causes that you initiate, because the effect will be a direct result of the cause. The effect will be a direct result of the cause. So if you are intentionally and deliberately initiating a certain cause, that is a preview, or that is a manifest of what the effect will be. It's a preview of it. You get a chance to see the forecast. You prepared for it. You've purposed it by design to come out that way. And so we cannot say, I'm waiting for God to do this, I'm waiting for God to do that, but you are not initiating any causes. If you're waiting for God to make you a millionaire, what are you doing? What are you doing to initiate that cause? And I'm not saying everybody want to be a millionaire. I'm just saying, what are you doing to initiate that cause? And if you're doing things to initiate that cause, don't be weary while you're doing it. Don't become anxious. Allow time to do what time is supposed to do, because time cultivates it and it puts it together. It brings it all together. It makes it all make sense. So you need that wait, and you don't want to prematurely receive or prematurely manifest the effect that you've been waiting on, because it won't be exactly what you expected it to be. And the reason why it won't be is because you did it prematurely. There are certain things, there are certain effects that we have in our life that could be much greater than what it is, but because we prematurely manifested the effect, it's not altogether there, and you still end up having to wait for it to evolve into what it is that it is supposed to be ultimately. But this is an opportunity that we have through understanding to know that we can cause the effect that we desire. You play a part. You play a part in causing the effect. The effect is not just some random outcome of random events that's happened in your life. The effect is deliberately and intentionally initiated by your actions. So the question is this before we go. Are you going to be intentional in causing the effect, or are you just waiting to see what 2025 have to offer you? Because you're going to hear a lot of people saying over the next couple of days, I'm looking forward to the things that God will do in 2025. I'm looking forward to what 2025 happened. 2025 be good to me. We say that stuff every year. We've heard it for decades in church. But we don't do anything to cause the effect. We don't. We just wait and see what happens. And we try to act as though we're satisfied with the effect, but many times we're not, because that's not what we were expecting. But we didn't get what we expected because we didn't cause it. Causing the effect and manifesting the effect takes faith, right? It takes faith, because while you're waiting, while you're not becoming weary, it takes faith, because you cannot see. Whenever you put seed in the ground, you cannot see that seed going through the process of germination. You don't see that seed bust open in the ground. It's in the ground. And if you dig it up before it does, you just ruined it. So it takes faith. So you cause the effect. You walk by faith and patience, because faith takes patience. And then you reap the effect of the cause. So I hope that I made this plain enough for you, but make sure that you are making a decision that everything that you do in this upcoming year, you're not just merely sitting by hoping that the principle of sowing and reaping works for you, or the theory of cause and effect is in your favor. Make sure that you're being intentional about causing the effect. Make sure that you're being intentional and deliberate about causing the effect. Whenever you do that, I promise your life will change. I promise you your life will change. I promise you you'll have a year like none other. And quit. Make sure that you stop yourself and break the mentality that you have to war for things that God is only asking you to wait for. So I'm not going to fight for it, because if it's a promise, it doesn't need, there's no need for a fight for something that has been promised. And your prosperity has been promised by the Lord. Your wealth and your health has been promised by the Lord. Your inheritance has been promised by God. Healthy relationships have been promised by God. His grace over your life and your children's life and your family's life have been promised by God. Receive the promise. Receive the promise. Don't fight for it. Would it be a gift if I said, hey, listen, I got a new car for you. I need you to come and pick it up. And when you come and pick it up, I got some big dude or big lady out saying, okay, now you fight her and you get the car. If you fight and win, then you can have the car. If you fight him and win, you can have the car. I know some of y'all about it, and y'all gonna roll y'all sleeves up and say, okay. But others will just walk away from it and say, you know what, I ain't about that life. So I'm not even about to put myself in this position. God's not gonna put you in that position either. In that whole thug Christian mentality. We got to lose that. We testified that we are sons and daughters of a king. You do realize that the sons and daughters of the king that are part of the royal family, they don't go and fight in wars. You're not about to have a street fight with a prince or a princess. You're not about to do that. They don't fight. And I want to tell you, stop fighting so much. Stop fighting with everything. Learn how to dwell in unity. When I say learn how to dwell in unity, I'm not talking about with other people only. I'm talking about learn how to dwell in unity with the life that God has promised you. Don't feel the need to fight for what God has promised. Or what would it be like? This is my last example because we're just about out of time. What would it be like if you told me, hey, listen, I got a gift for you and I need you to come pick it up. I say, okay. And whenever I arrive, you're standing there in the doorway with a gift box wrapped for me. And when I see it, I just take off running. I charge you. I grab the gift with one hand, push you down with the other hand, and start kicking and stomping you while securing the gift because I feel like I have to fight for it. That's what we do to God when we don't understand the principles of sowing and reaping, or we don't understand the theory of cause and effect. That's what we do. We start pushing God. God, you said. God, you said. God, you said. You said in your word. You said, and that whatever I sow, that will I also reap. You said. You said. We walk by faith, not by sight. You said that I am an heir of Abraham, the seed of Abraham. You said, man, come on. The promise is yours. The promise is yours. You don't have to fight for it. Just wait for it. Just like you're going to make your kids do for the next 3 days. When they see them gifts on the tree, even though the gift has already been purchased for them, they're going to have to wait for it. And they don't get to just go and open them whenever they feel like. They've got to wait until Christmas morning, whether it be 12:01 or whether it be the next morning at 6 or 7 a.m., they're going to have to wait for you to say, okay, you can open your gifts now. They don't just get to go and snatch the gift and start trying to open it. And what would you do if you stood at the tree and your kids, you said, these are your gifts, but you can't open them today. And they started to fight you for it and say, you told me if I be good, I'll do this. And now you don't want to release the, man, come on. We got to stop that. We got to stop that. Because we're going on into perfection. We're maturing in our faith. We're walking as sons and not servants. We're dwelling in another place with God, a more intimate place, a more real place than before. Has nothing to do with religion. Has everything to do with our connection, likeness, and oneness with God. And so we operate by different principles, and we understand the principles different. That's all I'm saying. Listen, we're out of time. I pray that I've said something to you to encourage you on this morning and to inspire you moving forward. We will be back here next Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you need me before then, make sure you reach out to me. I will get with you at my earliest convenience. I'll try to get right back with you if you need to hit me up, email, text, DM, inbox, phone call. However, I will make sure that I get back with you as soon as possible. But until then, make sure that you have a very Merry Christmas. Make great memories. Love on everyone. Love on everyone that you come in contact with. And I will see you guys next Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I love you all. I bid you all blessings and Godspeed. And I want to ask you all to please do take a minute before you continue the rest of your day and go and make a donation. If you don't know how to do that, reach out to whomever shared this link with you and they'll tell you how. But you can make your donations via Apple Pay, via Zelle, or Cash App, or however you need to do it. Just reach out to myself or whomever invited you, and we can give you that information. I love you all so much. Merry Christmas to you all, and I will see you all on next Sunday morning.
Something good gonna happen in this year, and I am grateful that I made it here. Yesterday's gone, and a new day has appeared, and I am grateful that I made it here. Blessings gonna find me here, oh yeah. Favor gonna find me here, oh yeah. I mean, say money gonna find me here. Blessings gonna find me here. Oh na 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 na. Something good gonna happen in this year, and I am grateful that I made it here. Yesterday's gone, and a new day has appeared, and I am grateful that I made it here. Blessings gonna find me here, oh yeah. Favor gonna find me here, oh yeah. I mean, say money gonna find me here. Blessings gonna find me here. Oh na 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 na
Love you
na
all. See you
na.
guys next week.
Something good gonna happen in this year,